Yeah, it's
Zoom is the best.
Hate Zoom. I might be speaking blasphemy, but I hate Zoom.
so this is the name of it. It's just supposed to have to
Hate
be.
Zoom.
So, yeah, I never heard that part of it, but I remember talking to Ben.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's kind of big. It's kind of big. There's a few
Here. So you got your forward and back. You also got a laser pointer on there too if you want.
I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I
You're gonna stick around?
Yeah.
I might use you as my, I need participants.
Okay.
Maybe I'll use you in
Yeah,
a
it's
few
fine.
moments here.
Okay, folks, I think we're gonna get started. So we got a talk today at the beginning of class. This is Matt Checksfield from Raymour and Flanigan. I'll let him introduce himself.
Where am I supposed to make this good? I know Jesse gave me very strict.
Yeah.
I don't want to disappoint him. I know he's not here.
We got this guy, so you should be able to walk around and it should pick you up.
Okay.
We were trying it out earlier today and it seemed to be
He
fine.
says I'm a wanderer. I told him I had something new I wanted to do tonight. I've never done it before. I'll stand the cash. Either it's going to be fun or it's going to be an epic failure. But either way, that should be fun. And I said that to Jesse, and he was like, "Well, Matt, the first time you said, you talked to Hack Upstate, you weren't wearing shoes." So I said, "Fair point. It can't be that bad." But we're going to talk about interviews today. But before we do that, I want to give you a little bit of a background on myself. Local person, homegrown in Syracuse, graduated from Rochester Institute of Technology. First job out of college was at Anheuser-Busch in the systems engineering, networking background. I loved it. And I said, no matter what, I would never, ever be a developer. Chasing that semicolon was something I did not enjoy in college. Fast forward a few years later, things changed. So I spent some time, 5 years at Anheuser-Busch. Then went and worked in operations for a little bit. So I actually left IT for a year and worked in operations as a process engineer, where all we did was machine automation. So we built robots that drive fork trucks back in 2001. So even before AI was AI, right? That was one of our projects. It took a while. We broke several laptops as these robots walked away on us, and it was fun. But that was the machine automation, pumps, valves, pasteurizer, stuff like that. So that was good. I really enjoyed it. And I left Anheuser-Busch right before the acquisition, and I went to go work for a systems integrator where I got to travel the world and doing controls engineering. So I worked on the software engineering team, and it was all about automation. So we worked at, what's going on, Vic, here? You're late.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a few minutes.
his name.
Yeah, we worked together for a little bit. So I traveled the world for 5 years and did projects for a lot of Fortune 100, Fortune 50 companies. And projects were fun. They had start dates and end dates, and I kind of deployed in, and then I left. And it was good. 3 kids later, not a great life traveling all the time. So I decided to take an opportunity every morning Flanigan to lead a software development team. So I did that for a year, increased my scope a little bit, and I was in charge of application development, did that for a year, and now I continue to kind of increase the scope and I'm responsible for IT, which includes development, but also security, compliance, infrastructure, business intelligence, and all of the other IT components that go along with development. So that's kind of my 3-minute background on myself. We're going to talk a little bit about interviews today. Has everybody been on an interview before? Yes. Anybody not been on an interview?
I've never had a job in my life.
You sound like a teacher.
I am.
Yeah. Okay. So every day is an interview.
A
for
new
you.
job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try something a little different. We're gonna have Ryan. You want to come up?
Yeah.
Come on up. We're gonna do a little 30-second mock interview.
Oh, no.
In 30 seconds. And what we're going to see on the screen is what's going through my mind. So the point is, and we're going to have some fun with it, but the point is I'm trying to do something that's interactive, that's visual, that's fun, but something that you could tie back those memories when you're preparing for your interview. It's to me, stories are easier to remember than bullet points, right? So I'm not a big bullet point person. So we're going to do this. So why don't you take a seat? No, take a seat here. You're interviewing. Okay.
What? On the floor? No, I'll take a seat. Here. Right here?
Like this. Take a seat.
Oh, like
Oh
this.
my God, what is it?
Invisible chair.
Did you have a hard time finding the place?
No. It was,
Do you need anything, pen, paper, anything to take some notes
Use
with?
a real chair.
Can you tell me about a project that you're most proud of? You know, can you talk me through the gap on your employment history? There's something going on between May and August. Can you talk me through that?
I had a kid.
We'll be in touch, okay? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
you.
Thanks for being a good sport.
Yep.
So now we're going to spend the next couple of minutes talking through, these bubbles here. True stories. They're going to come. So when I said doesn't listen, that slide was really, I put it in there for two reasons. One, kind of wanted to set the tone for this, have it be fun and engaging. I purposely walked around, talked to people, try to find the person who would play along best with me. I felt bad picking on anybody behind the table, which is why, sorry, you're the guy. And also, first impressions, that's what an interview is. I think of them as conversations. I don't ever say it's an interview. It's heightens the fear on the person on the other side of the table, and you really start to get their scripted answers. And I don't want scripted answers. I'm relaxed. I'm almost too relaxed because I want you to say things that you never would have thought that you ever would have said. I get those things out of you. I'm the poker, right? I find that thread and I tug. I want to know really about you. And interviews aren't really the best tool to do that, but it's still a common practice today. High energy. So if you were to think about public speakers or people that you look up to, how many of those people are low energy people? Probably not a lot, right? So it's the same thing if you put yourself in an employer's shoes, right? They want to be around people who have energy, they want to be around. So no, that's not going to work, right? So within minutes, you're making snap judgments. I've had all the HR background training. I've done interview training. I've done all of that. Everybody's still susceptible to unconscious bias, right? It's just human nature. Be confident. Be confident. You're going to join a team. Often, team leaders are confident. They're often very competitive. They want their teams to win. So you want to be on a winning team. Careful not to be cocky. So I've interviewed people who are ex-Microsoft, at Facebook, and I mean, they're bright. I'm way smarter than I am. They would never work on my team because it would just ruffle so many feathers and the culture would change, right? And it just wasn't a good fit. So be confident, but don't be cocky, right? Connect. There's an explanation point there for a reason. You have to connect with people. It is a conversation. If you can't connect, most likely you're not going to get the job. So connecting one-on-one is different than connecting with, like, say, a board interview. I did a board interview at the FBI. It was a terrible experience. They seem to enjoy it. I did not enjoy it, but it was a big circle around you, and you were down in this lower area, and you had to keep turning around and talking to people, and they picked and poked, and it just wasn't good. I had a hard time connecting with people because it was very, let's say, tactical interview. I work at Raymour Flanigan, not the FBI, so I didn't get the job. But you got to connect with people. So if you're connecting one-on-one, when you walk into somebody's office, look around. Look on what's hanging on the wall, right? Is the person who opened the door, are they wearing a suit? If so, you can make some judgments. Maybe they're a little bit more traditional, right? Maybe your delivery style should be less comedic and a little bit more traditional, right? When I got a job at Anheuser-Busch, the plant manager had an Ironman posters and his medals, and he was, exercise bike in his office, and I could tell right away this guy's aggressive. He's a competitor, right? So I asked him about running. I never ran a day in my life. Fast forward, I had to run 10 miles against him, a year or two later, because I challenged him. I said, I would kick your butt in a race. I don't even own running shoes. The point was, I needed to connect with this guy, and he liked running. So I talked about the aspirations to running and basketball. I'm more of a 90-foot sprint kind of guy, but we had something to talk about. Right? Those first few minutes are often the most important few minutes of your interview. Because after those first few minutes, I'm deciding, just like you're deciding now, do I really want to listen to this guy for the next 10 minutes? Or are you starting to think about, your to-do lists and dinners and where the kids have to be and yada, 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 right? I'm doing the same thing. It's not uncommon for interviewers to have back-to-back interviews or meetings, right? So those first couple minutes, try to find something to connect with. So if you see pictures of children, oh, my kids are about the same age. I've made up a fourth child once just to have a conversation with someone, right? So find a way, don't lie, but find a way to connect with somebody, right? I'm just kidding on the fourth child. And remember your personal brand. That's something that you can't scrub. That's you. So all your decisions, go back to your personal brand. How do you want people to remember you? That's important. That's important to me, and it should really help guide the decisions you make going into an interview. How you look, how you feel, how you respond to people, how you act, how you dress, all that stuff. So when I said you're late, don't be late, because often I do have 10 hours worth of meetings back to back, and if I'm late, then I'm late. Everything's pushed off, right? But don't be too early. I've had a candidate the other day show up for a 1 o'clock interview at 12:15. He was prepared, way too prepared. You could show up early, find the place the night before, hang out in the parking lot, read that resume. But at 12:15, I missed my lunch. I was angry. I'm not gonna lie. I was not happy. All I could see was a little chicken leg above it between his shoulders, and I was like, he didn't get the job. I wanted some ketchup and that chicken leg, right? So be early, but don't be too early. There's definitely a fine line between, 10 minutes is good. And then if you're late, put yourself in the employer's shoes. Can I trust you in times of critical situations? Right, that's what's going through my head. I'm hiring you. I'm paying you. You work hard. I pay you good money. You give us good work. We have a good relationship. But if you're late and this is the honeymoon, what's it going to be like when, our $1 billion point of sale is down? I want to be able to rely on that team. That's important to me. So you got to think about it from the other person's perspective too. This is the honeymoon. This is the best you're ever going to be. So if it's not off to a great start, there's a chance that it just gets kind of worse from there. Not prepared. Don't let me be more prepared for your interview than you. 80% of people I interview come empty-handed. Call me old school, call me old fashioned. If you bring a piece of paper and a pencil, if you can swing it, a little binder, some notes and some questions, you're already in the top 20%. And I know what you're thinking, those darn millennials. It's actually across the board.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's.
I was thinking.
I know.
Yeah. We connected.
It is across the board. And is my time not worth as much as your time? And that's the message you're sending me, is that, you make time for really? So that's the turnoff. So if you just bring something, you're in the top 20% right there, right out of the gate. That's easy to do.
I have a question. What if they don't use it? I brought it and not used it, and I leave like, maybe they thought it was just like.
Taking some notes is good. Like here.
What if you don't take notes out and you leave like, thank you for it? Like, are you thinking like they were just like putting a facade up? And really.
Some people, you can tell, some people are more scripted than others. No matter what I ask, they're going into their robot, this, and they're like, what are you looking for? They're trying to remember the script, right? And then those people are less genuine. You want to be genuine. If you have a question, you got some notes, want to take a follow-up question or whatever, take some notes. Hopefully you got something written on it because there's questions that you want to ask me. You did some research on the brand, the company, me. Don't show up with my LinkedIn profile. I had that happen recently. Person had to print it off and I was petrified. I found, he was an intern at Raymour.
Oh yeah. A few
years ago. Yeah, it feels like yesterday. But then the other part of me is any of the hiring managers that come to me that say, hey, I want to hire Dakir. I ask 3 questions. And anybody who reports to me knows what the 3 questions are because I've had them walk me through why they don't have the answers when they ask to hire somebody. What are they going to do? Who are they going to work for? And how much are they going to make? Right? What's in it for me? What are they going to do? What problems are they going to solve for me? If they have to stand up for that person and explain to me why it's a good hire. what happens when the owner, our CEO, comes in and has a meeting with the curator? Is he going to be a good reflection of my personal brand? I hired him. It's my boss, right? So put yourself in the other person's shoes. You're going to be in the room with your hiring manager's team leader at some point. You have to be a good reflection on that person, right? So it's my personal brand now. Not engaging. So I didn't give you a chance to say anything, but your interview with HR should be different than your interview with developers and different with your interview, quite frankly, with me, right? I'm not going to really poke too hard on the technical acumen. I expect the team to do that. But if you're in HR and you're talking to our vice president of HR and you're going on about the REST API and how it blah, 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 right? That's all she hears. And when he or she, in our case, it's a she, you're making, in our case, she feel small, right? That she doesn't understand. And nobody likes to talk to people when they don't understand. Those topics are just, you're dumb, man. I can't connect. I don't understand what you're saying. It's not a good time, right? So go to so you use like personification. I do it all the time. I report to somebody who's not a technical person. So I have to use like onomatopoeia and personification and analogies. I use my hands a lot because I'm trying to connect the dots for them, right? Do that to an HR person. You should be able to talk to what your specialty, to an expert, to an HR person, to a child. So I break it down in different ways. This talks to this and sends the credit application there. They talk to each other, right? They don't really do that, but I'm trying to build an analogy for them. Solve that person's problem. So when I was interviewing, we did a mock interview. I was 20 years old with the plant manager of Anheuser-Busch. I was pretty pumped. He asked me a question. I had the answer. It was around Cisco iOS devices and how I gave him a very clear example. I was so I nailed it. And he looked at me and he said, I don't care about any of that. I said, huh? I'm Cisco CCNA certified. It's like, can you work the PowerPoint? Because that's my problems I have. When I talk to 800 people, I want to give my presentation. Sometimes the PowerPoint doesn't work. So, but I'm solving that person's problem. When I talked to the engineering team, I couldn't talk about the PowerPoint. I talked about networking stuff. But keep that in mind. Like, what's the person you're talking to? What's their problem? And how do you solve that problem? And then they're going to be an advocate for you. HBR. Has anybody heard of HBR before? I made it up this morning, so I was hoping nobody actually heard of it. Human bounce rate. All right, so I had bounce rate initially there. How long do people stay on a website before they decide this is not going to be a good use of my time? It's standard, 3 seconds? It's actually getting worse. MTV used to show video clips and jumped around all the time. Now they don't show videos, and now we have no attention span because it's like less than 2 seconds. So the human bounce rate is within a couple of minutes, I'm going to decide this is a good use of my time, right? So keep that in mind. I know it's terrible, but it's true. And actually, probably everybody here does it a little bit too, right? Do I zone out or do I not? We all have choices to make.
For solving the problem, how do you know what the problem is? Does that come from doing research on a company, who you're talking to, and their position in the company?
That helps. I mean, I'm hoping that somebody does some research on our company. We are a privately held company, so a little bit harder, but we don't disclose profitability, but we have 140 locations. That's public. We're the largest in the Northeast, the largest in New York, fifth largest in the country. So there's those types of facts that you can find. If you know the person you're talking to, you should always ask that. Who am I interviewing with? And what's their role? It's okay to ask. If you were to talk to a CEO, what is the top 3 challenges that you're having right now? And they tell you what the top 3 challenges are. What are the top 3 obstacles that are getting in the way for those challenges? And they tell you. And try to find a technical solution that's going to solve those challenges. And you just had an engaging conversation with a CEO, right? So you don't always have to know, but ask. If you can get them to talk, that's good. I will try to talk very little. I want you to say things. So I'm poking and prodding and positioning and trying to figure out who's the real you. Not because I'm a bad guy. It's just that I want to know really who you are. Are you going to be a good fit? Because it's not good for you and it's not good for me if you join the team and you're like, you know what? This isn't going to work out. That's wasted investment for the company. And it's a wasted investment for your time. I want to avoid those situations. I want a retention rate of 100%. And we're pretty good, but we have a pretty rigorous process. We go people first. That's my philosophy. So this is about prison, right? So it throws people off. There's really good reasons often why you may have a gap on a resume. Be prepared to talk to it though, because I'm gonna ask. It's okay, but if you don't say anything, if you don't give an answer, or one person said, you know what, this is really my personal situation. That was what went through my head. This person went to prison. Especially HR people. I know I'm being recorded, but they're the worst. They jump to they're the most cynical people on this planet. They're always jumping to the worst case scenarios. So just talk somebody through it and get it off his to-do list, right? Be able to talk to things that are on your resume. So if you installed Linux 10 years ago on a laptop and you couldn't quite remember how you did it, maybe you shouldn't be on the resume. Because when I started asking questions around that and I find out that that's really the situation and it was just like something you did seriously 10 years ago, you're starting to lose credibility. Do you really know React? Did you really work at this company? Were you in prison? Right? It all ties back. So when you have 100 things, the first 33% of your resume is technologies and you're like 21. Wow, you've been doing this since you were like 4. How could you be an expert in all of these things? And it actually makes it a little bit confusing. I'm not sure, what's supposed to stand out is not standing out. Okay, so if you're applying for a job at Raymour and Flanigan, that's my punch right there. We are a React shop, right? We are a .NET shop, big JavaScript team. And you know that because, you applied for the job that mentions all those things. Maybe you tailor the resume to us a little bit and you eliminate the noise so it actually stands out. I can see 100 resumes in a week. So you gotta find ways to stand out a little bit. Tell short stories that relate to the person who's interviewing you. Short stories that relate. I've heard bar fight situations. I have like epic tales of stories. You can talk about this all day long, but people remember stories. Right? Not bullets. Jeff Bezos does not allow PowerPoints in his company. They do the art of storytelling. That's how they have meetings, right? PowerPoints just don't cut it. So, hey Jesse, you're late. Were you in prison? I knew this slide would come in handy many times over, but that was just ad hoc right here. Now we're totally off. So short stories that relate. So that's important. And then, so it's always good to know about the core kind of building blocks of what to do in an interview. But it's always good, kind of funny, to know what not to do in an interview. That's just as important. So here's my little matrix guy right here. True stories. What happened at your last company? Like a total, just sudden ending. The company relocated and didn't tell me.
Have you heard?
Yeah, just all true. I said, oh. I didn't think it was an unfair question. But you ask these questions, you start peppering them out, and that's where you find the threads to pull, right? Like I got a feeling like his exit may have been sudden. Something, I had a poke there, I'm gonna prod there. I usually interview with one other person if it's for a bunch of reasons, but that person knows me well enough now. They're like, oh, check seal's going after that thread. I'm poking and pulling and I'm trying to find it. They just left and they didn't tell you. Yeah, red flag. And to that point, if you have like 10 jobs in 10 years, I'm gonna ask about it. And if the response is every time the employer is at fault, I don't know, like you're gonna join the team. I'm about to be your next employer, right? The put yourself in my shoes. Don't want to be that person that you're talking about. What's your greatest strength? Easy. That's an alley for somebody who's nervous, that want to kind of take off the ledge. This is supposed to be a conversation. I want to get to know the true person. I could tell very quickly when somebody's nervous. I interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people. What's your greatest strength? That's an alley-oop. My upper body. Not exactly what I meant, but a true story. I mean, he was in good shape, but that's a different story. What's your greatest weakness? Another kind of an easy one, and people tend to take their strengths and they turn them into weaknesses. It's adorable. You know, like, oh, sometimes I just know, I don't know when to stop. I love perfection. I'm just always on time. And I said, that sounds like a strength to me. And he said, he actually cursed, but basically that's your opinion. Whoa, okay. Try not to be offensive, right? This is supposed to be fun. They call me Mrs. Robinson. I'll never forget this one.
Whoa. Whoa, they're not even. Are y'all okay?
Don't. Yeah. Don't hit on the interviewer.
Oh my God.
Or anybody in the room, frankly. That's just not a good idea. I got a lot of personal enjoyment out of it because it was the person next to me. So every once in a while, I walk down the hall and I sing that song. Yeah, this years ago. Exactly.
Do y'all
And
know?
he just.
The referee. Do you know?
No,
I could be Mrs. Robinson. I'm the age of Mrs. Robinson. Yeah, there was a movie with like, what is he, 20 young man and recent college grad. That's gonna happen.
Zakir, we will talk offline about Mrs. Robinson. Okay? We're being recorded right now. We gotta keep it clean. My employer might be watching us live on the YouTube. Is that what I heard? Okay. Bashing anyone. Syracuse. You don't know. A small city. So I interviewed somebody at a relatively big company, and that person was just very upset with his employer. And my team leader doesn't do this, and she doesn't know what she's doing, and boom, 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 boom. I said, oh, is Michelle still there running that team? I thought he had a stroke. I mean, he was backpedaling. And said, hiring managers, I mean, how many billion-dollar companies are there in Syracuse? Not a lot. We're one of them. Give you a hint, the company that is in Syracuse that's the company that person worked for. It was telling, and it was a lot of backpedaling. It's just not professional. It may or may not be true, but is that your personal brand? A good interviewer is going to read through that stuff. Don't throw somebody under the bus. You can professionally answer the question. I know how to pick up on social cues, and just leave it at that. Don't talk bad about your teammates, your college project team. There's other ways to get your point across, right? Without doing that. So Syracuse is small. Don't forget that. It's a small city. Everybody knows everyone. So, wear shoes. I did a whole talk on this for the last hackathon. I won't go into the story, but wear shoes. Try to overdress. I know we're in a very relaxed environment nowadays, and a lot of companies are in flip-flops and sandals and shorts and bathing suits and all those things. But you are going on an interview, so it's okay to overdress and just I overdressed. It's hard to say. I didn't know you didn't have a swimming pool because we had somebody show up once in a bathing suit, and I was like, no, really, this is what we're doing. But he works at a relaxed company, and he was coming from work. Still, do your best to dress up, right? Change. In the car, not in front of the wall windows in front of our office. True story. The guy with no shoes, actually.
Oh, wow.
There's my angry Bitmoji. Questions, thoughts, comments?
How do you, when you add technical skills to resume, what do you recommend? Like, do you rank them on fluent, familiar with? Like, what would you say? Because you did say not to include something you can't answer questions about, but at what point should it go on the resume and should it not?
If you can't talk to it, then I would say try to avoid putting it on it. If you're trying to make, if you're new in your career or something, you're trying to add content, I get it, then I would do something like that. So that way you're not pulling the wool over somebody's eyes, you're being very honest. It's something I dabbled in. You can answer those questions and still have a good answer. So let me think of something off the top of my head. So something that you're not super, maybe you're not experts in anything because you're in a class that's touching on a lot of things. That's great. But that was a choice that you've made because you don't want to spend all of your time, right, all your eggs in one basket when an employer might be a .NET team, maybe a Node.js server side, whatever, or a Java, right? So that's okay. But it shows out you're capable of learning. That's what I would focus on. I'm capable of doing all of these things. This is what I've done in Perl. This is what I've done in C#, whatever, right? And I'm excited to dive deep in this area. These are the tools that I use at home on my own time to learn these things. So you could turn that into a positive thing. It's just I've had we're experts in. I'm like, oh, well, walk me through how to do this. And they go, I don't know that. I'm like, really? Like my 10-year-old can do that. So then you just lose credibility.
Multi-topic question on one issue, but we had a visitor before, a couple visitors. My full-time work started in 1986. So to get the computer to even focus on anything nowadays, I know we were told basically shorten it, just put the pertinent stuff. For the second resume.
So the resume, because your resume is long, you're saying?
It's 86.
From 86
So
to
full-time and none of that tech. Yeah, it's a little long.
Right.
And but what's going to get through to a hiring person? Probably not all that stuff from 86. None of it is technical. And what I think we heard was just leave it off. They don't check, just leave it off, or shorten it, or.
Right.
What do you recommend for career changers who started working full-time in 86? I mean, what should go on the resume?
So if it's multiple pages, like more than 2, I'm telling you, I'm never
It's
getting
an
past.
academic CV right
I'm
now.
never getting past page 2. If you're all technical, which this is not, but if you were all technical, I'm really not going past 5 or so years. So the fact that you were doing punch cards and it's not relevant anymore, right? In your situation, because maybe your first technical job, you want to have some of your history. I would try to keep it to the last 10, 15 years, no more than 2 pages, but then talk through, especially if you have roles of different responsibility, that's important to show those roles. If you were the whatever, and then you took on more responsibility, that's good. People who I see are consistently successful, whether it's in technology or not, it's not by accident. So that's how I look at that. But I wouldn't have 4 or 5 pages. That's actually overwhelming. I mean, you might just, I gotta move on to the next person, right? So be able to talk through your career change and why, but then talk through some of those roles. And if it was a leadership role somewhere, you can apply all of those things. It's one of my tricks, actually. And I don't go on a lot of interviews. That's my boss. Okay. As I think about all of the scenarios, all of the other jobs, all the stuff that usually if it's really hard or difficult, or if you had failures, those usually make the best stories because you went through a challenging time. But I think about all those situations, I keep them on the tip of my brain, and then I don't lie, but I tailor them to the question that's being asked, right? So missing a deadline may be because I've shown great flexibility to change to the ever-changing business need, right? New requirements, and this is how I got there, right? Yeah. So you got to have all of these things on the tip of your mind. You don't want to be in the car driving home going, oh, I had a good example. I don't know about you, I can't remember much, So I try to think back and think through and refresh my memory and projects and budgets or whatever the job is that you're applying for, and then you can kind of tailor. I didn't say lie. Tailor the response to the appropriate question.
If I were to apply to Raymour, with my resume, I suppose it depends on department, would it first get scanned looking for keywords? before it got to a human?
Very common. We're not there.
You're not,
Um,
but it is common.
Yeah,
in the-
now it's, yeah, AI scanning and resumes is any kind of SaaS service offers it out of the box. We're still on an on-prem situation. It's in our near future, but
No, I'd rather apply to you.
so for IT, actually, I'm a little bit old-fashioned. I do like to read the resumes. I like to do, if you're local, I like to talk to you in person. The phone interviews, the Skypes, when you're like 7 miles away, I'd rather you just come in and talk to me. Because I hire for the person, so it's important to me. So I don't do, I break a lot of the HR rules actually, and so I will do kind of my own thing, and sometimes we don't sign all the appropriate paperwork before we talk and all that stuff, but look, I hired somebody in the Wegmans parking lot once, so it was a good fit. The he's awesome. We connected, talked once before, I ran into him. He's looking for a job opportunity, hired him, went into work the next day, told my boss. He said, we don't even have an open position. I said, I know. That's why this conversation is so difficult, and then it was fine. It's just like, part of my role, I can make those decisions, but it's all on that kind of human contact, right? So you hire for the person. It's very common though. So I would focus on some keywords and stuff like that. Anybody else?
I don't know, maybe you already like talked to this before I got here, but like.
Hold on.
Wait. You're late.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So you guys are headed for like a really like large expansion in your like tech sector?
Yeah, so I started 5 years ago. I was number 11, I think, on the development team and 30 something in IT. And we're at like 82 right now. And we just finished our expansion. We actually busted into the warehouse. So we have the capacity for another 90 or so people, but very open layout, open workspace, laptops. We have a think tank with a foosball table and ping pong table, where our networking team beats me all the time. But yeah, we are continuing to grow. Our company, we opened 12 stores this year. Last year was a record-breaking year, and then the year before that was record-breaking. So we're comping against high numbers right now, but we're still doing pretty well. Oh, do you have a second part of that question?
What exactly do you do?
What do I do?
Well, no, I
I'm
mean,
overhead.
Like 60, 70 developers, 90, however many you're gonna have by the end of it.
So it's a good question. So we're an omni-channel retailer. So that means we sell online, we sell in brick and mortar. We do the brick and mortar thing really well. And we were doing 2 days way before Amazon Prime did 2 days. Amazon does e-commerce really well, way better than we do. So we have a mixture of in-store activity and we have a mixture of online. So we have teams that work and we cross. We don't have, you're the RF.com team, that's all you do. We're all .NET background. We use the same tech stack across the entire company. We have an in-store mobile point of sale. So retail in general is being disrupted. I mean, I say less than 10 years, the experience is going to be more important than the product. Mm-hmm. So we're using technology and we bought into that. The technology team is now driving the business. So you can be working on our mobile app for our in-store. So when you're greeted, and technology is all part of the customer experience. So from the moment you walk into the showroom to the moment we walk out of your house, there's tablets, there's mobile devices, there's information. You're checking out on the sofa on a Windows tablet. Our drivers are using, delivery teams are using iPads where you know where you are, what's next. We're going to be offering like text messages to the customers every step of the way. So that event-driven technology, similar to like an Amazon. Like, hey, we scanned it. You're just making it part of the experience. We scanned it. It's on our dock door in Suffern or wherever it is. It's on your way, right? Your delivery team. Here's a picture of Zakir. Not a good picture. He's coming, here, and he likes long walks on the beach. He's delivered, 600,000 pieces of furniture. So you kind of are building that connection with the person. When they're in the doorbell, you kind of feel like, it's a little bit of an experience thing. And we have a lot of tenure, so we're using that to our ability. We have a lot of people who've delivered hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pieces of furniture, right? So it's kind of a cool stat. Delivered 30,000 pieces of furniture last month with a 99% delivery success rate. Has a dog named Chi-Chi, whatever, right? So kind of make it fun, you know, kind of whimsical, but kind of create that experience. And then we're figuring out like after the purchase, we want to show the truck on the road to your house. It's kind of cool, so you know how far we are and where we are, but there are like personal identification stuff that we have to be careful with because we route really well. So like our delivery teams are really close to the next house. And we can't show multiple stops because you don't want to know that so-and-so just had furniture delivered to their home, right? We can't do that. So is it really valuable? Because if we pop it up on your phone and then 30 seconds is ding dong and they're there, you're like, that's actually turned up to a poor experience, right? So we're kind of balancing the cool factor with the creepiness that we know where things are going. So there's like that balance. But look, we pass, $1 billion more, 1.5 through our point of sales that are all developed in-house. Like that's, if we're down on like, especially a sale, it could be $20,000 a minute, right? So that's just lost revenue. So it's all sorts of systems, but everything from payroll to the sales, to ops, transportation, supply chain, all those applications are important. And then even with cloud nowadays, a lot of it's integration. So it's building, APIs that connect to Experian or some other, third-party company. So there's kind of it's a widespread of technology. It's a little bit overwhelming actually when you first start. So we buddy you up with somebody else.
So with all that cool stuff that you're doing, do you have any internships?
So this year, we're not doing internships. This is the first year that we haven't done them. We did hire like a decent group of people.
Can you make one?
Can I make an internship? Maybe. Let's talk. I'll give you my card.
I'm unemployed for the summer because I'm a teacher, so.
My wife's a teacher. I gotta tell her that you're looking. I always give her like the Home Depot applications and stuff, and it never goes over well. So I stopped doing it after 15 years of marriage. You kind of just I know my role.
Why did you stop having interns?
It was really a decision. We brought a bunch of people in. We didn't have the leadership and like some of the core fundamentals down. So what's worse than not doing interns is doing interns poorly, because then you have kids going back to school usually, right? And they're talking poorly about their experience with Raymour and Flanigan, and that's to me worse than that's our brand. So we kind of backed down. We made a promise to all of our new hires that we'd be onboarding them, that we're going to be engaged. We're 100% focused on their success. And if we bring in a pool of interns, we get a little distracted. So we're trying to buckle down.
But you can bring in one.
I can hire somebody in a Wegmans parking lot. I mean, I guess I suppose. Yeah, I'll give you my card after. You're a good salesperson.
Sounds good. I just convinced you.
You did a good job.
Almost. So.
You listen. There you go.
So what are some of the things that you look for, like, that are, soft skills, like not necessarily your tech skills, but I mean, obviously that you can depend on people and you have a connection with, but I mean, in general, is it more important that the person has good people skills and is good part of the team, or, I mean, like how do you calculate that?
Very carefully.
Because it's always, in my experience, it's always kind of a crapshoot.
Yeah, it can be. You could be having a bad day. I could be having a bad day. I could be distracted. Who knows? Absolutely. Some of it's luck, right? There's definitely some luck involved there. Ability to work with others. I don't ever ask, do you like working in teams? I've never had anybody say no, although I've never thought that my upper body would be my greatest strength either. So maybe I should be asking that. It is, I guess, just your ability to get it done. Like the ability to execute is important. So that's where your previous jobs may not be in tech. Personally, I don't care. It's just, I want to make people, when I say, make this go away, just make it disappear, right? Execute. I don't want a room full of academics who are like, you could do it this way, and I could do it this way, I could do it in a more complicated way.
Just get it done.
Why would I want that? You know, so like just the ability to actually just hand things off and just go run with it is super important. The ability to be able to talk to folks, because we are in our situation, we're a privately held family business. The owners sit just across the parking lot in a different building. I mean, there's multiple buildings, but they happen to sit in a different building with marketing and some of the other teams. IT has gotten so big, we have our own building now, but the ability to have a conversation with somebody, we're a very entrepreneurial company, so we have a lot of ideas. Not all great ideas, but we have a lot of ideas. And somebody who can be flexible to help execute those ideas. So like, that's actually pretty common. When I say, hey, we want to be able to deliver a product as well as drop ship it. So today we have some drop shippable items. That's all we do. We want to be able to offer the Raymour, delivery experience. That's a core competency for us. That's something that makes us different than pretty much all of our competitors, because they outsource that stuff. So the last space you see is us. And I don't need a list of 20 reasons why that can't be done. I know those things. I want to know, how do we make this happen? Right? It's like to be able to think that way and not have to, I don't care about the API and this and the other thing, right? That's important to me. Some of it's just the basic stuff, but it's hard to find. So.
So you mentioned earlier that you like seeing people bring in a paper and pencil, and that kind of gets you to the top 80% of interviewees. So I'm trying to see if maybe we can bump it up to like the top 90% of interviewees.
The top 20%, because 80% of the people don't bring anything.
Oh, numbers,
but
so hard, very complicated. What kind of questions would you like to hear from an interviewee?
Okay, so I like questions that show that the person's engaged. So I've been reading about your brand. It may be outside of IT. Those ones always intrigue me, because they're thinking about, we're not a technology company. I mean, we're not. We're a retailer, right? So we're not an IT company. So how do you handle this? Whatever you found on our website, right? What are some of your biggest problems? Our call center, 40% of our calls are around delivery dates. When's my delivery? Yeah, I forgot. Emailed you and texted you. I forgot, right? So how do we? But that's crazy. So like, then how can we solve that with technology, right? By you call the phone now and it just knows who you are and it tells you what your delivery date is, right? So things about the brand, questions about the brand, questions about our product, questions about some of our challenges are always intriguing. People who pick apart our website, it's always fascinating, and tell me all the things that it does wrong. I'm okay with that, but it shows me your attention to detail. I don't know if I would phrase it that way, but opportunities, right? As opposed to room for improvement, right? It is an older website. That's actually one of our projects that we're migrating it off to a different platform. But questions that are shows me that you're well-rounded are always different, especially if they're business questions, because a lot of IT people ask the same questions, right? So just being transparent. So.
What's your favorite part of your job when you go home and like think to yourself, this is why I do this? Yes, this was great. What?
It's an easy answer, but the kids ask me that all the time. Like, what do you do? And I'm like, I don't know. I solve problems all day. That's my job. What I like is actually the people part of it. So I've been lucky. I mean, I've hired 50-something people in IT since I've started, and each person brings a different scenario, right? And it's fun to be a part of that. People think, and look, I'm not the oldest person by far in IT, but they think that you must know everything. You're in this position. I've gotten tax returns. I've gotten questions about how to become a U.S. citizen. I've all sorts of things, but working through those kind of personal problems and watching that person grow is important to me. We had a great example. We had a woman who left her twin sister. She's from Cuba, and she came here to the States, had to go back and get her degree. I mean, what a fighter. She lost her degree when she came here. She had to work nights, go to school. She ended up getting married, had a child. I mean, that person to me, I was like, we're just going to hire her. I was like, I'm not sure what we're doing, but we're going to hire her. I go, she's going to be successful in anything she does. She's a project manager for us right now. So that's the part that that's the fun part for me. I like the technology, and I can still do development even though they try to take my access away. I still know how to write code too. So. What else?
I have something to say. I can, as you were talking about the first point, I realized that when I interviewed with you, that I fell for your trap. He really will ask you all these questions and open you up, and you're just like, well, that's a great conversation. You forget.
I gotcha.
That the job is, writing on this conversation that you think you're having. And I'm glad it was at the end, but towards the end, I don't know what we're talking about, but I started opening up about how when I was in high school, I worked on Dunkin' Donuts, and instead of throwing it away, I would empty the trash can, put a new trash bag in, and then put the donuts in, and I would take the boxes too, and me and my friend would go sell it at school for money. And I told him that, and he was like, "Oh, well, yeah, don't say that again."
Oh my
I was like, "Oh, I thought I was doing something great."
This guy's an entrepreneur right here. Raymour and Flanigan furniture, mattresses, and donuts. Gonna kill it. IT is a revenue stream now. But it's funny. It's funny though, because you do have that entrepreneur spirit. You talk about you were creative, you solved the problem. One of my old bosses told me one time I hired somebody because he pulled in the parking lot and he was not quite straight. He backed out and it was important for him to straighten out. It just showed him he was working in the shop. That the attention to detail. This guy's gonna be drilling holes and gauges that we sell for millions of dollars. He wanted somebody that was like attention to detail. That was like one of those subtle things that he paid attention to. I remember that story. I actually had my first job was I used to sell gum. Gum. In middle school, and then I used to sell. Then after that, I moved into like the Laffy Taffy, like bigger bulk thing. I had a wholesaler. I was on a word processor. It was before computers, and I was keeping track of my P&L. My parents thought I was like, they thought I was a drug dealer. But then it's like could be worse. I made $3,000 in 7th grade, but so it was fun. I put my competitors out of business. I had my own like business model. It was fun, but that was like, so I could relate to that story. Yeah.
Are you from here?
I am, yeah. Grew up in Liverpool. And no, I was not.
Selling your dog.
Anything else? Well, thanks for all the questions. This was fun. So this was the first time I'd done this mock interview thing. So
Yeah.
You did great.
I don't think it was an epic failure. So maybe I'll refine it a little
It
bit.
wasn't an epic failure.
Yeah.
That was great.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Epic.
So I saw you.
I roped you in, huh?
Yeah, you got me.
All for it too. First impression within a few minutes. Like, are you gonna listen to me or not? Right?
Yeah, it's like you got me.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. I will give you my
I
card.
was just gonna say, don't forget.
I'll leave a whole bunch of cards. You guys can contact me anytime.
Matt will also be here next Thursday.
That's right.
4 to
You're gonna
7
mock
for
interviews.
mock interviews. So
Yeah.
sign up on the form. We'll also still take impromptu interviews, but whoever signs up on the form will get first call.
First
for
dibs.
sure.
I got
So
dibs.
sign up. Yeah.
I'm gonna bring one of my colleagues. He's a great interviewer as
I
well.
already did it.
A tricky interviewer.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Sorry.
So if Matt scared you, you'll have one.
He may be worse actually. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Matt. Let's get a big round of
Yeah,
applause.
thank you.
Thank you for setting up. Thanks for being such a good sport. Appreciate it.
You want me to stop it and do another one?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
In the
Okay.
meeting and start over, just so we can.
Matt, are you gonna be here Thursday and Friday or just Thursday?
Yeah, right now, I'm putting that form out again as well for the sign up.
It will be nice. It will be nice. It was very my mock interview with that plant manager was very memorable for me. Yeah, he helped. He was brutal. People cried afterwards, but
Make us cry.
I won't.
Don't.
Over the coals.
Thank you so much.
Everybody wants a car.
I have lots of opinions about it.
You can tell us all of our problems.
I know the whole question was, but how do you make an impression with the song?
You would not know
I've
that
been
from my
being-
soul.
Because the being physically and crazy, you make impressions.
So, no, by my actual home. And that my kids broke everything for your
Yeah, because it should be like, I'm more like a person.
What?
Even though I'm like, sure.
Finally figured out why only
They spent their whole lives like.
Yeah,
Hey, no wonder you're so nasty. Jillian, I'm sure it was nice.
Hey, I feel like you didn't know about yeah, that's right. Short. Yeah.
You want to just make sure that you don't. You want to get it.
I mean, I'd like to, but I don't want to interrupt you. You only have so many hours.
We're gonna miss it, so we'll figure something out for the office hours. Yeah. So we'll figure it out. It'll work out.
You all set, Ryan? Anything from me? I wasn't gonna jump
Yep,
in.
I think I'm good. I just gotta start the screen share here.
Awesome, man. Thank you again for trying to facilitate with
No problem.
I'm gonna introduce Katie and then have her say a couple words and you can go there.
Is that
Slow, now it's out.
Oh, no, I didn't get to know. That's my friend. I think you can see my friend. My friend is already in college.
Yeah, so. Yeah, so I'll be invited and then, yeah, Zoom right now is not right there, but working. So I'll see you, but.
He's walking away. I was like, come on, come back.
I was looking away.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, yeah, I'm just waiting for Jesse to finish up here, so you're good to go. Thanks again.
Thank you.
No history.
Yep.
All right, folks, we're gonna kick off a class. I don't have any announcements, but I just wanted to introduce Katie, who will be our teaching assistant, sort of intermittently with Pankaj here. So, Katie, if you'd like to say a couple words on who are you? Introduce yourself to the class.
Hi, I'm a student at City Potsdam. This is my first time doing anything related to code bootcamp, so this is an interesting opportunity for me. Catch up on the course material, but I'll try to help you as much as possible.
Thanks, Katie. All right, Ryan, hand it up to you.
Yeah.
Thanks, folks.
Great.
Thanks. Thank you.
So the past couple of days, we've been talking about TCP and HTTP. In general, I feel like people have been getting that pretty well, which is great. So today, we're going to kind of take it a step further, and we're going to talk about HTTP tools and libraries. It's kind of the things that surround HTTP, different ways you can use HTTP in an easier fashion. So in particular, we're going to talk about these two utilities that provide interfaces to make HTTP requests. And I would imagine you guys yesterday you had a lot of trouble typing out those requests by hand. It was kind of tedious. Like you miss a character, you screwed up, or you screw up the capitalization, you get back the weird server errors.
Spell things wrong.
Spell things wrong, exactly. Or I spell things wrong. But either way, a lot of the developers don't really actually do that. Like we have better ways of making HTTP requests and typing them by hand. It was really more of an exercise I wanted you guys to do, just so you would have kind of the experience, have the understanding of how things actually work. So we're going to talk about these 2 tools that exist to make your life easier. Well, there's actually 4 in here because the last 2 we're going to talk about on Monday. But we're going to talk about today 2 tools, one called Postman and one called curl. These are probably the most popular tools outside of a web browser to make an HTTP request and receive an HTTP response. And then on Monday, we're going to talk about fetch and briefly touch on jQuery.ajax, which is the 2 most popular ways in a browser to make an HTTP request. Both are important. You'll find cases where you have to make requests in both contexts. So it's definitely worth talking about both. OK, all that makes sense? Cool. OK. So first of all, Postman. I'd like you guys to download Postman on your computer. So it's a graphical application you start up that has like buttons and you can click and stuff like that, which you guys are probably going to like. So if you go to www.getpostman.com/downloads, you should be able to download it. I don't actually think I have Postman on this computer yet, so I can come along with you guys. I'll post that in Slack too for you. So see a download button, that's probably good. So looks like you get a zip file here, and then once it's done downloading, you can click on it, it'll extract it. Okay, and then we get this Postman application here. Oh, yeah, I want that. Okay. And how's it going for you guys? I mean, I imagine it's relatively self-explanatory. If you want any help, though, either speak up and Katie or I can probably help you out with it.
So it wants access to control finder.
That's totally fine. So once it opens up, at the very bottom of the screen, I can't really zoom in on this, and it's a little hard to see. There's a link down here that says, skip signing in and take me straight to the app. That's what you want to click. What do you say?
In the App Store?
Oh, no. So I posted a link in Slack, and I said it. I think it was getpostman.com/downloads. Oh, no problem. So on there's a download button. If you click that, you can go through the process, get set up. But you'll eventually get something that looks like this, and hopefully, yeah, I can make it bigger. Great. And I want to do that. Yes. So how's everybody doing? Do you have something that looks like this?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, oh, there's a little box in the corner of that thing. Just click that. Okay. Click that guy right down there.
So I have this.
That's fine too.
Okay.
Doesn't change anything.
So here,
You got that. You're on your way.
Yeah.
Okay. we're gonna do a bit of talking first before we actually do anything. So no big deal if you're still making your way through it. Just wanted to get that going now before we get into the exercises. Okay. So you'll see something like this. This is what all this stuff means. So just like yesterday where we were typing out all the HTTP requests manually, we have the same sort of fields. We have a method, we have this URL, we have the headers, we have the body, all that stuff. It's just now, instead of typing it into that terminal and having to type it out manually, what this application does for you is you fill in all the fields, and it does all that typing for you. So it puts the method in the right place. It puts the URL in the right place. It puts the HTTP version in the right place. It puts the headers, the body, all that sort of stuff. And even if you look here, it'll parse the status code. It'll tell you 200 OK, even make it green for you so you know it's good. I mean, it's a pretty robust application. So I'd imagine it's also pretty user friendly too. So I don't think you guys are gonna have too much trouble with it. However, I briefly mentioned URLs yesterday. I kind of wanted to break it down a little bit more. We talked about it briefly, but hopefully the color coding will help as well. So we got the protocol. That's what starts the URL. We talked about this briefly yesterday as well. HTTP. That's defaultly on port 80, talking about ports of the first class. Domain name, we talked about that as well. Path, and then the query string, reinforcing that again. So I realize this is probably a review, but we're gonna deal with this stuff again today, so I just want to drive that home. If you want to reference this later, it's in the presentation. If you guys want me to post that again in the Slack channel, I can do that. Okay. So I'm gonna do a demo to start with, and then afterwards, I want you guys to do it. So Postman, we're here. I have this endpoint /fruit. It's what we used yesterday on that same module5.tk server that I set up. So it's a GET request, and we're getting /fruit. So we got our method here, get. There's a lot of methods. We're gonna go HTTP module5.tk. So we're starting at our URL /fruit. So same sort of thing we would type in netcat, but the difference here being before in netcat, we'd type only the path and only the query string. Here, this is like what you type in a URL bar of a web browser. You're typing the protocol, just like I was talking about with the URLs. You're typing the protocol, the host name, and then the path, like that. So you're kind of joining those two things together. You're taking, like, when you type netcat host name port, enter, you're taking like that host name and you're putting the path after it. You're kind of putting it in one big thing. And this is typically how you see paths illustrated in the computer science world, or URIs or URLs is what they're called. But this is what you'll see how they're illustrated. So we got get module5.tk /fruit. I don't think we need any headers for this one. So if I click send, everything goes well. Oh, do it on port 5000. Okay. This has now just got a little bit more interesting. Ooh. Okay. It's going to be a little bit of live debugging here. Sorry, folks.
I actually got,
Oh, you got something?
I got some HTML.
Yeah. So that's looks like I screwed something up when I was fixing that body parsing bug last night you guys were running into. Okay. Let's see. How can I best recover from this? Let me let's do this. And this guy isn't running? No, that guy isn't running. Okay. How about this? Let's take a quick 5-minute break or so. Let me fix this up so it works again, and then we'll come back. I should have tested this out beforehand. Okay. Okay. Cool. I'm gonna unplug this.
Yep. They get worse every year.
Okay, we are good. Sorry about that, folks. Ah.
I think I remember
think we're good. Let me make sure this doesn't crash on me again here. There we go. Nice. Okay. Okay. Sorry for that interruption, and I apologize. I should have tested this before class. I did yesterday. Anyway, so I got the server back up and running again. So I made a request. I requested the get method. Oh, I gotta make this bigger too. Made this request with the get method to module5.tk/fruit. And if you remember from our presentation here, that's what I said to do. And in our response, we get just what we got yesterday. So apples, oranges, bananas, same thing. So.
I'm trying to catch up with you.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Katie, you think you could help her? Okay, cool. Okay, so that's our demo. Again, I'm guessing you guys probably are following along with me. Okay, cool. So is this working for everybody now? Okay, sweet.
I followed your instructions. I was like, oh, I'll just watch.
Okay.
Apples, oranges, banana, and then
I haven't tried it.
Yep.
Alright.
Okay, give it a try.
I will do it.
I'm not sure what you did. I just not downloaded it. It just
Oh,
wouldn't-
Hit the X in the corner, that will pop up. So now you're on the same screen I am.
Oh,
So just like yesterday, we have all the same sort of fields. We got method, we got path, we got forward, we got headers, we got body. So if you look at the presentation, if you don't have that open, what I had said was make a request to get /
Spelling fail.
We use the same server we were using yesterday. It's a module5.tk thing.
That's the beginning of every
So the method get, that's the method that I specified.
Oh, it's
Um,
tomato.
URL. So, oh, yeah, go for it, go for it. Do it. Try.
Everybody thinks.
Yeah, I think it's approved.
We think it should work.
Oh, because they have.
And then we'll work through it.
I think that's right.
But you're very close. Do better.
I'm almost positive that tomato is plus. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I
guess so.
I only specified two things in that slide,
Like
get
yes or
/ root. So, so cannot get any response. There's an error connecting the / root. Well,
According to the Oxford Dictionary,
Well,
scientifically saying
this
tomato is definitely a root.
application, you
I
type
think it's
in
Yeah,
internal space, you type that path, we're going to connect it to the portal. You have to start typing your stuff. You open the application, you told it you wanted to get So, I don't know if you saw my slide up there about URLs.
Yeah, that's interesting because most requests I have.
Yeah. Allows us to kind of combine all that stuff. That's probably the difference between other
When she
applications.
said that,
Search. You know what I mean with that? So that's essentially what they're doing. During the slide again, or give the presentation.
Yeah.
I posted this slide, but I think it's really class as well.
when I
Someone just showed me that yesterday. I was very.
You want to do
Yeah,
that?
I think I did a better job of putting stuff in the class.
It was one of the scientific definition.
I got this, and I'm like,
I had no idea, like, where it grows and how it grows.
Yeah,
I don't want to know how it's on
That was yesterday. Yeah, I think three. There we go. So if you have page down, get to where it says URL.
How about?
There we go.
I did my best,
This
but-
kind of goes through what that sort of thing is.
Like from the one that was really, really
You got protocols, you got your element, you got that.
Oh, yeah, it's really route, yeah.
So, yeah, but like, if you think through this, domain name, that's like at the very beginning of our network thing before. So like, I'll just buy the path, that's what I was talking
Yeah,
about.
they
It's very simple.
They used to be a fairly exotic.
Normal query string, for example. But protocol, That's like special things for in this case, we're using for default HTTP pool, and that's what that HTTP pool is. So you think using this sort of example, you can.
Well, I've always,
put a
you
URL
know,
into a
avocado toast is like a thing that people complain about now in volumes, but I've been eating it for 20 or 30 years.
You guys are all good, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys are good?
Yeah, take half of one, right, and then I spread it all over the table. I put a little lemon sauce, a little bit of lemon juice. A little bit
You
of
should be able to, yeah, so it's
Right, but
like.
is that how you?
And there's this restaurant
No,
down there.
butternut
Oh,
squash is not,
oh.
yeah, so I was thinking the slides on one thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right now.
It says although technically approved butternut squash may be used as a vegetable, they can be roasted, sauteed, toasted, curried, or
exciting.
And it's like.
So
Normally I
Yeah.
would put one hash.
Yeah. Are you in
That's
sharing?
interesting, yeah.
Okay, does the
Oh,
person
by the
go
time
to the
the meal-
channel CICS? I posted in there at the beginning. So it's a 4-finger swipe up to make that happen, or a 3-finger. Choose 3-finger swipe up, and then along the top here you have this bar. You can add desktops to it. So I can add another desktop over there, and I can swipe up and go to it. Or if I do a 3-finger swipe left and right, I can go to it.
When you start reading that.
Oh, you mean like 2 windows like right next to each other?
Okra.
Oh, yeah, we can do that too. So in that case, you just
On the other
drag
hand,
the window
there's
over.
in the world of buttons,
Sort of.
proof is the structure that bears the seeds of a plant.
Oh.
It is
Yeah,
bears
no,
the
there's
seeds
a
of a
seed
Yeah.
plant.
Oh,
I think,
There
Regardless
should
of
be
whether we
fine.
think about it.
do you know that? What's one of the green peppers?
Yeah, so you have this diagram corner here. This green one, and you click that, it will.
Like I guess lettuce.
And if you want to make it on full screen, just push it like
Yes,
hover over
we
the
were just talking about
screen
that
here.
cucumbers,
It comes
tomatoes,
up, and then you can click on the green one
squash.
again. And make it on.
All the ones like, all
That
of
makes
them.
It's just not the
Yeah,
leaf, it's
Yeah. Okay.
wood stuff, like I said, don't know.
So like green
So
peppers
broccoli is
are fruit.
Oh, you want to put them like directly side by side? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we should.
Yeah, there is a way to do that.
Basically.
I think it's. Give it a try. Oh, it has to be.
Oh, it has to be.
Yeah. So if you make this guy full screen here, and now you swipe up,
Actually,
take this and stick it over there. Yeah, so now it'll be like this. But the important thing is that it has to be full screen first.
Right.
Yeah.
To gather information.
Cool. So what do I have next here? Okay. So, and that's, okay, we just did a request 1. Request 2, remember that echo request we were talking about yesterday? Give that a try in this. So either you can pull up those exercises we were working through yesterday, or take a look at the presentation. It's about to come up here, and it's down here.
So we did number 10 already.
Oh, kind of HTTP colon / /
I didn't put in a fourth one.
So we're gonna pull that.
Now,
Wait.
Because we're using the default, right?
It's just gonna echo.
so the format of that's very important. To make sure you get all the characters, all the cases correct. And all that sort of stuff. But yeah, do you understand kind of how this links with what we did yesterday? How this is like an application that takes all the typing. You don't have to do all that typing.
Okay.
Yeah. So how much of what we were doing yesterday were we able to complete? Okay. Yeah. So I would say if probably recommend everybody else in a second, just go through this tool, see if you can do it all. Notice here, this is query parameters. Or that's if you go back to the slide, that's what that last is that I have there. You want headers. Headers is right there. So there's a bunch of different sections. There's a bunch of tabs on the top of the screen. There's even a thing where you can like
But
make use of the authorization
where
stuff
does
for you.
body
We're gonna talk about that later. Yeah.
just requested, huh?
It'll even auto complete. Like it's pretty. It works pretty well if you're into these sorts of things.
Okay, so where would body go? Because I just put down that, but this request is on that.
You want to put raw there. Type.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So just hold.
Yep. So I was just talking with Kira, and something that I forgot to mention, along the top of the screen, there's a bunch of different tabs. You can switch between things like query parameters, headers, there's a couple others too. So if you're having trouble making a request, make sure if you're like putting in a header or something, you're using that right one. And also, if you guys got through that one and it's working well, those are the same exercises you did yesterday but with this tool. So the same request to the server you were making yesterday with Netcat.
Okay.
So just, so I'm lost, like we have.
Yeah. So you're gonna change that to post and then put the vote at the back. And then,
Nope, get rid of.
no, take food out.
Oh, we're all done with that.
Yes, now put in echo. And then, see at the top, go to the one that says. And then over, where it says.
Give me a second.
Yep, click there, now put in your hello. And then.
No.
Oh, so we're basically.
Yeah.
You just weren't on bottom.
Because I kind of.
I don't know.
Huh.
Instead of doing the thing he says to do, we just skip that part. One of the options that says better for their phone.
I was trying to think of that stuff right there.
Weird. Okay, so it works for me. What am I doing here? It's different. I have post that, raw there. I got hello there. I got hello down there.
Body, and you got.
Okay. Is it
Yep.
not supposed to do that? That's what
Nope.
I did.
This is what's supposed to happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I got raw right there.
Yeah, but what did you get back? Because I put in hello.
I got back hello.
Oh, wait.
You need me, here.
Okay.
It's loading.
Take that URL that's up there. What's in that box? Truck into the web browser. Let me see what happens when you do that. Like go to Chrome or Safari or something. Okay. That is very good. So that's, go back to Postman. Get rid of the HTTP at the beginning. See what happens if you do
There's
that.
backslashes too.
Oh wait, are they backslashes or forward slashes? Did you type this one or this one?
Oh, maybe.
You want this one.
Yeah, that is a one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
How do you look like it?
Oh, is it? 'Cause it's
Yeah.
not. I'd like to.
One time, if someone could look at my computer and not say weird. One time. I always have to remind myself, we all got computers at the same time. They're all the same, right?
Yeah. Is anybody else having problems with this exercise?
Hello, it's not returning.
Not returning anything? Okay.
Is anyone else?
I mean, the last one I did the HTTP and it worked.
Yeah. I'd say let's try a different exercise. Let's see if the other
Okay.
exercise works for you. If
Okay.
they both don't work
So-
for you, then I'm a little more confused.
Yeah, no, the first one did.
I tried the most common word from yesterday.
That did return.
Ooh, yes. Okay. So notice here, notice the status code. So that's the first thing. Okay, so yeah, if you guys get back a response you're a little confused about, the first thing you should look at is the status code. Remember we were talking about yesterday the 2s, the 4s, and the 5s? So in this case, you got a 4. So it means you screwed something up. So if you take a look at the document again, wherever you're reading the exercises from, or maybe you're doing from memory.
I just don't
Okay.
care.
Oh.
This, from
Yes.
yesterday.
Okay, so we got that, got that, got that. Oh, I think you spelled processing wrong. Is that 2 C's?
I don't probably not.
No, right.
Okay,
And that's my issue. See, spelling,
I think that worked, maybe, wait,
oh, it says it's okay, but it didn't give you anything.
give it anything. Oh,
Zooming out the whole
okay.
page.
Really should modify this stuff halfway through the week. Okay.
Still says it's okay though.
Yeah,
It
it's
says
okay.
anything.
But I'm not, so, remember how we running into that body issue yesterday? I tweeted that last night.
And now doesn't have anything?
That doesn't have anything. Wow.
So, okay, now I have a question for you, because, I was talking to the senior developer at work,
Yeah.
and we have talking about, because I told him we were going to like APIs and stuff this week.
Mhm.
Because he sent me this, I guess, I don't even know what he was doing with this, but, he updated that program. When we started talking about APIs, he said there's like 2 that we should be learning.
2.
I'm
Like
gonna have
the
to
number
ask
2
him.
or the,
I think so, I don't know. He was talking about it, he said they're gonna, he said, if they, something about soap, he said if they try to show you with soap, he said,
don't use that word.
that's what he said, that's exactly what, he goes, you don't wanna use that, he goes,
You
he
don't wanna
goes,
use
if,
that.
he said, if they're trying to teach you that, he goes, no, he said, and then he said, you know, if they tell you that you should know about it, that's good, but that you should use whatever it was that he was using.
I've never used it, I've never learned it. I just know it's a bad thing.
So he,
Those two. So he asked us to go back through the
so he-
exercises
and
that
I-
we did
you know, like-
yesterday and see if we can get those to work.
I'm gonna bring this photo up to his back, hang on.
Yeah, this text processing one doesn't work. What the heck is that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, there's only 3 of us that are beta users, and he was sending out the final version of this program that we're using. So I guess he's able to buy machine, like, the 715, that's my laptop.
Okay.
And he was making it, because this is the new version that we're going to, you know, so he
Yeah.
was pushing and making sure that it's going to stay.
Okay. I would guess he's probably updating a database, and that's what we talked about in a future module. Yeah, without any really any context, I can't really
I know,
comment more
well,
than that, but.
we got to talking about it a little bit, he's like, oh, no, he's like, I'll send you something, you know, snippet of code that he can show you, because you can see the back end of, you know, this multi-million-dollar company that he worked for, and.
Yeah.
Try to get an internship with them. It was.
So how bad are things breaking?
Like, right?
They're not. I've gotten the text processing to work.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait,
Really?
Really?
Which one? Both of them?
Well, I'm trying out the last one, but I got frequencies to work.
Okay.
That one worked fine, and then I also got the authorization.
Oh, okay, I bet I know what might be going on. It should automatically for you add.
I'll ask him again though, when he said he was using for the API.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious.
Because he did, I remember that part, I remember him saying, if they teach you about soap and that's it, he goes, that's not a good thing. Because you should know it, but it's really old school, and it's not something that you should be using, and.
Yeah.
I know he said there was something that was with it too in it, so.
I'm rebooting your computer. Like, I had something fundamentals off here.
Oh, is that gonna affect this?
Oh, it will. Oh, but it's done. Okay. Let's just take a look at that. Huh. nothing sticks out to me there. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, something weird's going on.
So,
Both those things.
nice. So is it just?
No, it's right here. It's an internal server error. Oh, 500.
Just recently.
It's a 500.
Sorry.
Which is why you got all of that back.
Yeah, it should be.
So that means
It's
it's
not.
500 means a server error.
Yeah.
It's not you.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's it. What is it? No, it's a server error.
So
Oh.
when you type in a body,
So
you
that
mentioned
must be
this
one
from the
didn't
classroom,
fix,
it's like
who
this
fixed
raw
the
option.
most
And that gives
common
you a text box. where you
Right.
can write. Yeah, otherwise you're gonna sound like a special.
Yeah,
content.
if you put, he had to
Yeah.
put in below and then food
Go well for you?
and then it returns nothing.
Go well for you?
I know, that's what I said.
Cool.
Literally, if you put in text processing most
How's it
common
going,
word
Pierre?
and put in body below and then FOO, it returns nothing.
Oh, I got some.
Cool.
But I don't think he really had the.
Other people working.
Yes.
How about you, Jaquette?
Maybe he broke it again. because it's like,
Yeah.
So I
You're probably a little
have
behind.
the joy of checking out.
Yeah.
Let's chat afterwards.
But yeah, so I guess, you know, so far, hasn't been.
Yeah. Yeah, so just a quick 10-second version.
Yeah, rather than-
We've been talking about a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit protocol on Monday. Yesterday we went over what we talked about. So it's called HTTP.
I think it's roughly.
And it's a real protocol, it's really used.
Yeah.
We were sending real HTTP messages, so this is a way to
Yeah.
send the messages, but in a smarter way, in a way that doesn't require all the typing like we were doing first. So this one, this tool does all that stuff, or does it for you. Like it does all the typing for you. So you tell it all the fields you want, it just puts it in for you and sends it, you get back the response, it sends it, shows you it all in a pretty way and stuff.
Oh, that's why. So in your body.
The whole like.
Inputting.
So this is one server and this is
And then you
another
would
server and they're
type
both
in
on my computer and they're
Brown
talking to
top,
each other.
You're pretty close. So the top part's the client, so that's like a weird, or like two net cats.
In this part here.
Yeah, the client talking to the server, and responding back. So top one's the client, bottom one's the server, and you put in your information with the client. And then when you hit send, it effectively runs like that cat, the server you want. And then it types a bunch of stuff and it waits for the server to type a bunch of stuff back. Once the server types a bunch of stuff back, it displays it with this interface. It shows you all the information like nicely presented with like, fields we're gonna talk about later, but like status code, like headers and bodies, sorts of concepts. It shows them to you nicely.
Now,
Cool. You might have a little trouble following along.
Here you go.
Okay. And we'll chat after.
Okay, thanks.
Got the reboot?
It always asks me to sign into my iCloud account, which I do, and then it always sends me an email telling me to reset my password. Why does it do that? I don't want to reset it. I can barely remember the old one.
Open back up Postman, give it another try. What you were doing looks right to me.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm a little confused.
You and me both.
I think I'm gonna start looking at the next stuff.
Yeah, go ahead.
Keep trucking on that. Okay, so our next thing here, our next tool, this is tool number 1. To tell you the truth, guys, most people want to use Postman, but I want to show you the second one, really for the reason that it's the tool I prefer. You're gonna run into it either way. It's something that comes up a lot. It's called curl. And it looks like this. So just like Netcat we were using for the past couple days, curl is a command line utility. So you run it in the terminal and you give it a bunch of parameters and it makes an HTTP request for you and it prints out all that information in the terminal. And you might ask, well, why would you want this? I mean, don't I want an application where I can click buttons and it makes it really easy for me? And a lot of people do. And I mean, it has a lot of advantages, but the big disadvantage is if you want a sort of concise way to represent a request, like a way you can say, like I can give a request to you that you can like replicate. Curl's a very easy good way to do that. I can send you over Slack or send you a text message that has a curl command in it. You can just run it and try something out. In addition, it's also kind of used as a sort of protocol of protocols. If I want to send you this command, or I want to communicate, maybe like I have something in Postman, I want to export this. Often people export HTTP requests as curl commands, like it's kind of this de facto format. So while you may not have to use it on your day-to-day, at some level you definitely will use it on your day-to-day, but you may not have to use it right away on your day-to-day. It's a good thing to be familiar with. So that's why I'm kind of introducing it. So there's this curl command here, just like netcat, you type into your terminal, curl, it's pre-installed on all Macs, which is also really great. There's a bunch of different flags you can pass to it. There's the couple that I'm going to say off the top of my head. -X allows you to specify the methods like get, post, put, patch, delete, all the stuff that's in that drop down in Postman. -H lets you set your headers, so just like you did in netcat before with like typing the header name, colon, the value, all that sort of stuff. You have this -H flag where you just put in any headers and you can repeat it. So if you want 2 headers, you do like -H header 1 colon value, -H header 2 colon value, etc. -D, you can specify a body. And then at the very end, you put the URL. And also, I'm not expecting you to memorize this right now. Like, I'm just kind of presenting this and throwing it at you. I'm going to have you guys do a couple examples just so you can try it out. But I don't expect you to, like, after this, be a wizard and understand what all these flags mean. It'll happen with time if you are interested in it. Yes. So, curl example. I'm going to do that. So, curl. I'm going to do that echo example that you guys were just doing, but in curl instead of in Postman. So just like in Postman, you need to put a URL as kind of curl's main parameter. So I'm going to do what you guys did, http://module5.tk/echo. So that should be no surprise. Then next, I'm going to specify the body. So remember this echo endpoint. You can look in the documentation that I wrote out, but it has a body you specify. And kind of the whole point of it is you give it a body and it returns back to you the same thing you gave it. Kind of like a nice little example. So -D was the thing you do for a body. So I'm going to give it -D and then test. And when I run it, I get back test. So it by default will print out the body for you that you sent, or that it receives. Does that make sense, roughly?
Yeah, you're on the terminal?
I'm in the terminal right now, yes. So I'll post this command in the Slack channel.
Does it matter if you use single or double quote?
It does not for this case. I would say there are cases where it does matter, and if in doubt, use single quotes in a terminal. Mostly, yeah. Let's stick with that for now. Shell scripting could be a whole entire module. So I want to be, if you're curious about it, we can chat after class.
Okay, so now when I did it again, I just got this. Is that what I want?
No, what is it? Oh, you got a get. You need that to be a post.
Oh, that's
You notice you got 400 reviews.
right.
There we go.
Oh, there we go, finally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it should be good now.
It just returns stuff to the.
It's just like default, always my fault.
I have the.
Not necessarily. So how you guys do with the curl example? Does that work for you?
No, that's my answer.
Okay. Try some of the other requests with it. I mean, if you're, you might discover you love curl like I do, and it'll be life changing. How you doing, Elizabeth?
So yesterday we would have to like, I got the return and then the headers. And then return again.
They're all on that module by that TK.
Yeah, instead of doing
You should be working on 480.
program called Curl.
Oh, man.
Yep, so you're still gonna use get and all the stuff we're doing yesterday, post, yep, but we're writing it in one
So
line instead of doing.
take a look at the URL there. Look it over again. You missed a little piece of it.
Oh, before curl, properly called. Oh, is that what the green thing is?
Oh, no, sorry. That's my prompt. Everything before this and after this doesn't matter. Sorry.
All right.
Just look carefully at the URL. So the part that's this part that starts with HTTP like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
colon.
Yep, just read
Backslash
through yours quickly and then look at the screen, and there's a little difference in it. I want to see if you can figure it out on your own. Forgot /echo?
I did.
Yeah, that's a pretty big difference.
So the dash D is the body part.
Yes.
So this was. So if you put, if you want to change it,
Yeah, I know, like, I know it's my computer.
Switch up here back to the slide. Sorry, I should have kept this up for you guys too to make it easier. This will have your answer, Karen. So you see that -X flag there? That allows you to specify a method.
Oh, okay.
So the thing I didn't say there, which I should have, is curl has some defaults.
That's what I was
Don't
gonna say.
specify.
So if you don't specify, it's.
It's by default, well, it's by default get, and I'm realizing now I really should have specified the method. This is very confusing. By default, it's get, unless you specify a body, and then it's by default post. Yeah. Sorry. But you can specify custom headers, you can specify a body. These are really the three that you use regularly. The last one you might want to try, if you give it a -d, it'll actually print out all the stuff you were typing yesterday. It'll print out like the beginning HTTP line, all the headers. It'll print out the body. It'll print back the response. It'll put a little caret before it and show you which direction it's flowing. It's kind of neat if you're into that sort of stuff.
What was it? Mine, dash what?
-B.
And then you just typing fast.
Instead of
Oh.
the.
You want end of the curl command. Oh, like that.
Oh.
So if you scroll through that, you can see at the beginning, it has a bunch of the data coming in
And then
and
just
then the
did-
back coming out. So it kind of visualizes it if you want to be able to see like exactly. the things.
Nope.
Okay.
So also typically the way the source flags work, usually it's like a dash something, and you put it after the beginning command.
Okay.
So if you see that sort of nomenclature, it's usually a command and a bunch of flags where it's like dash something, a value, dash something, a value, something like that. So just, I don't know if you've been introduced to that before. So, okay. Yeah. Anybody else need any help at all, or it's going well?
I imagine.
Yeah, given you missed yesterday, how's it going for you?
I think I'm getting the appropriate response. Like, maybe there's nothing to look for. So I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, that's what it actually said.
That's it. So, yeah,
That's not what I thought it said.
I'm realizing that this wasn't actually brought up before, but hit the up arrow and show the last command you ran.
No, so,
Keep paging up to see all the last commands you ran.
yeah.
It's a kind of a way you can see a history. for what you did.
So,
So
it is, it's just, yeah.
And then give me my double E, like, and, so it's there.
Yeah, so
The computer saw it.
sometimes when you type in a terminal,
Uh-huh.
it like gets a little garbled, and
Okay.
it's kind of it's a little complicated of a reason,
Okay.
but sometimes we'll get a little screwed up.
Yeah.
And if that happens,
Yeah.
what you can do is you can either just hit enter and let the command fail, and then hit the up arrow and you can see it again, or if you type clear,
Yeah.
it'll clear the screen,
Okay.
and then you can type it again and it'll be good.
Because like SAS will just like stop working and it won't tell you. And
Yeah.
then I like, having that last command.
Yeah.
It was
would
a
be
very
like, oh,
traumatic
it would
experience.
stop. And then having to clear it, oh, that would make it wake up again maybe.
Mhm.
Without me having to like shut down the whole damn thing.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. And so you can use the arrow keys too and modify. So just take that, modify what you think it should be, and if it doesn't work, then call me back over and we can figure it out.
Okay,
So
awesome.
when you put in the B, you put on the rest of that? The rest of the. final test.
Yep. Yes, I'm ending B to the end, like space dash B.
And then test. it.
Like it ran a command.
No,
that I
just-
didn't-
just dash B
And
on
that's
the
what I-
side.
and that's what I did, and it came back and it said I couldn't do it.
I see.
First, it was the test, and then we'll I did the dash V, it said.
You got rid of your dash D.
Oh, they both have to be there then.
Yeah, so when you
Okay.
typed,
I always put the D in there, yes.
yeah,
So
so
it has to be dash D,
Yeah.
dash D.
you're kind of unpacking it better. Like imagine you have a computer trying to understand what this command does.
Okay.
So you see curl, you say, okay, I'm gonna make a request. You see a URL, so you say, okay, I'm gonna store that in my URL location. And you see dash D, and you say, okay, what I'm about to see next is a body. So you read dash D, and it's like now you've stored, you're gonna read the body. Then you read the string after that, you say, okay, that's the body, I'm gonna put my body location. And then after that, you see like another thing, you know, dash uppercase H, you say, okay, this is a header. So then you can read it and put in the header location.
Okay.
What's going on here is you typed curl, the URL, sees dash V, and says, oh, I'm gonna do what's called in verbose mode. And then it just sees test after, and it's like, oh, I didn't need a thing to put after dash V, what's going on here?
Okay.
It gets confused.
So then I need to take that out and do dash D and then dash V. Oh, no, it's
Let's see here. Well, you still need to pass that body to your dash D. Do you remember how the dash D takes a
Okay,
parameter?
so then you do need the test in there. So you need this. And then you're saying put this.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Yeah, so the important thing, yeah, and I'm realizing I probably should have talked a little bit about command line stuff first, but the way that the flags work, they kind of stack together like that. You have like a flag that's,
You're saying it should show everything from yesterday.
what do you mean by everything?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, like post, echo, HTTP 1.1, all these headers. Do you see how they have a little like arrow before it? That means it's being sent. And then below it here, the arrow the other way, means that's what you're receiving.
Okay.
So it's not exactly the same, but it's like, there's some stuff before it and after it, but it's contained within it. Does that make sense?
It makes
Okay,
I need something.
yeah.
And-
Like around.
Oh, no, it's just a small thing, I can
Okay.
it around. But I did the NS lookup and this is what I got. So here's
What
what
are
I
you doing an NS lookup for?
I read something and I was like, let me try it, but I don't.
Yeah, you're very close.
Oh.
So when you do an NS lookup, you're actually not using TCP. You're using a different thing. So when we were talking about on the first day of this module, TCP, that's one way of communicating. But they're using something different. It's called UDP. I'm not going to get into it, but it's a different, similar way of talking. You think of it as like English versus French or something. It's just a different language. And because of that, when you give it this URL, you're giving it HTTPS : / and then a URL like that.
Yeah.
So that works fine in a web browser because
Yeah,
like
like
the
this.
protocol at the beginning, like 480.
Yeah.
But 480 is like the TCP thing. It's kind of not. It's you're giving it a URL, but a URL is distinctly like a TCP or an HTTP. It's like on that side of the dichotomy. But when you give something to NS lookup, it just wants to be raw domain. So typically what you give to NS lookup is something like just www.freecodecamp.org. There's no path involved, there's no protocol involved. It's just literally the raw thing. The thing which you take like netcat space, the thing that goes there on the port, like the host name there, that's what you give to NS lookup. It just wants the raw thing, no protocol, no path, no nothing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you're using a lot of big words.
Yeah, okay, sorry. So okay, let's do it this way. So let's do what we did on Monday with netcat. So if you wanted to make a request to FreeCodeCamp, how would you do that with netcat?
NC-L-L and then the number.
So NC-L is the server piece.
Oh,
That's like if you're listening.
Oh, NC. They start with the IP address.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that was like NC, the IP address, and then the port. And you'd make a request to that IP address on that channel of communication.
So this is a port 223. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
That is right.
Okay.
But it's a little, okay. Yeah, you're correct. But it's a little, there's another little piece I don't want to get into right now. But if you wanted to make a request to FreeCodeCamp via HTTP or via some sort of protocol, you would connect with something like netcat. You would type your command, you could hit enter, and you could then get your response, or something like that. But the important thing here is that when you type that in, you're typing like netcat freecodecamp.org and then the port. You're not typing there netcat http://bootcamp.org. The reason why is that.
Oh, gosh. No,
that-
not really.
yeah, that's not like the path, but those actually go to the HTTP, what you're typing, like you would type like get the slash the path. Does that ring a bell? Like we were talking about earlier this week.
Like requesting information.
Exactly. So what you're doing there is you're connecting to a server. You're not connecting to like the path on the server, because that's like additional information.
Okay.
And that's how MS lookup works. MS lookup works using taking that host name and converting it to an IP address. So if you have like different paths on that server, it really makes sense. They all kind of turn into this IP address. So MS lookup simplifies it. It says, well, I'm just going to provide just the domain name, just like the whatever.com, just the www.whatever.com, or whatever it is.
So TCP is the actual like communicating with a IP or I don't know. I'm trying to catch the.
Yeah,
Like
you're pretty much right. Yeah, so you're communicating over TCP. You're connecting to a server.
Oh.
You're sending data. You're getting a response. That's very similar to what MS lookup is doing. You're connecting to a server. You're sending it data. You're getting a response. In the case of MS lookup, you're using a little different protocol. You're not using HTTP. You're using
the URL.
You're not using the URL for an MS lookup.
Okay.
So the URL piece, with netcat, we would type something like netcat, the domain name and the port.
Right.
So the domain name there is on its own. It has no path on it, has no HTTP on it. It's like just the raw domain itself.
Okay.
And the reason why that is that sort of path piece, those sort of protocol piece at the beginning, those things are specific to HTTP. Those are like things that go along with the HTTP protocol. They're things that like are included when you send that data to the server.
Okay.
And that's why when you use netcat, while you're typing netcat, like just the raw domain and then just the port, you're not typing the path after the protocol before it. Because with netcat, it's not built for HTTP. It's just built to send information to a server and respond to information.
Okay.
So that sort of information is included in the body. It's included in what you send, and then you get back data that you receive. Does that make more sense? Or you want?
You would have to like really like
draw it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting lost in the vocabulary. Like.
Let's do this then. So I'm going to do what we did yesterday. With module 5.tk, I'm going to go port 5000. This is just what we did yesterday. Following me so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to do like get, like root. That was something we had. So that makes sense to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So notice what happened here. We said netcat module 5.tk 5000. We put some text here. We got back a response there. Notice how this doesn't have an HTTP before or a path after it. It's not like we put here nc http // module5.tk/root. Reason why is that HTTP piece that's represented in the path piece is represented in the body. Like this root there is right there. It's not right there.
Oh, so you don't have to. It's kind of like broken down.
Exactly. This is a subset of the URL.
Okay.
This is just the domain part.
See, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So now, if you kind of take the same concept of netcat or to NS lookup, NS lookup just takes this information. It just takes the domain. It doesn't take the path part or the protocol part, because the path part, that's part of the HTTP protocol. Like if you're in the first day, we were just sending text to each other. There was no sort of path part involved. This is just like we're just sending data to each other. And because NS lookup doesn't use HTTP, it uses like different protocol. It's like we're speaking a different language like on the first day. There's no sort of path piece in that.
Okay.
Is that more helpful, or do you want me to? Okay.
So if I type in NS lookup module 5.tk, I don't need to type in the 5000.
Correct. Yeah.
But I will need to type in the HTTPS and.
You don't need to type that part.
Okay. Just
so that, like with netcat here, we have module 5.tk. This is the domain name on its own here.
Yeah.
We don't have like the path as part of the HTTP request.
So it gives you back information about the IP address. It doesn't give you information about the ad or anything. There's like this one does.
Correct. Yeah. So give it a try. Type NS lookup module 5.tk. Yeah, okay, so that worked. Try the same thing with free code camp this time, following the same sort of idea. No, with MS lookup still. So what we were doing originally, we did it successfully with module5.tk. So do the same thing with free code camp, the same sort of using the part of the URL. Just that domain part. That'll work. So the key piece is that the domain name is different than the protocol or the path. It's like a separate concept that's lives outside of HTTP. So if you want to talk about after class a little more, I'd love to do that. We can maybe draw it out.
Right.
But hopefully that's enough to just start you thinking.
Right, yeah, that makes.
Wait. Actually, do you think we can do this? Do you think it's not like gonna blow up the place?
Yeah. How you guys doing?
Yeah, good.
Okay, cool. All the requests looks all good? Cool. Should be.
Sending back at the same time.
Did you put anything, it should just be the authorization header on its own as super secret, nothing before it.
Wait.
Okay, I see what's going on here. So take a look up there at the request I have on the screen. That -h bit, you've got the name colon the value, just like we were talking about yesterday, where you have like name colon space value enter, name colon space value enter. You see what I'm talking about? Here, let me go there.
And I'm not looking for the word name, right?
No.
We did the last one with the word name in.
This guy here. Let me actually write what it should actually be. I think that would be maybe a helpful direction to go here. Look what I have up there. Yeah, you see that? Yep. Okay.
No, it's just.
So you don't need name, correct? Need a space, single colon and a space after the colon.
Here.
Sorry. Yep. Yeah. Oh, darn it.
Yeah, what are you trying? Yeah.
Control and
And,
I mean, to skip between words.
I think it's alt instead.
I was trying to before.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh. I'm thinking the one, yeah.
We did this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to give you a working example and show you where it is.
Oh, so you did that?
Yep.
And then, I got
The-
yeah. Maybe I'll try it too.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay.
Let's see.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. show you what you wrote last time.
That,
what you
that
wrote.
was, that.
Yeah. I'm gonna make it a little bigger just so that you can see it all at once. So you're very close to the beginning here. Before it, you have dash H. So you got dash H here. And I wrote key colon space value like that. You did name colon space value authorization.
Really, yes, no, but the last one we did, you got my work box. We did. Explore structures.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Why did it, life is good.
When you're doing,
And it worked.
oh, that one worked.
Oh, it did? Wait, you can find
No,
it.
oh, yeah,
Scroll up.
yeah, you have arrow keys to go up and down.
Where is it? Because it did work. And I thought, this isn't like yesterday, but
No, that-
because I remember yesterday was not today.
yeah,
But no, I like this flexibility. Wow, that worked too.
you shouldn't, that should be able to
Should
work.
work. I'm leaving.
You know, screw it up here.
Only through Python, but then it was Django.
Yeah, it's a little different. Surprisingly,
Like grocery yesterday, I didn't have any of this.
oh, I know why.
Why it worked?
Yeah,
I know, tell me.
okay, so it
I
turns
love
out curl actually will automatically put in your content length header for you, I think. You don't have to specify it, which I didn't know. So if we get rid of this, that's still gonna work. Yeah, it still works. So what I did here. Yep, sorry.
Okay.
So this is what you had sent, or what you had,
Yes.
yeah, okay.
And we put a name. We did the, we
Yeah,
didn't need content length either.
you did it. So take a look at this now. If I make, oops, wait, where was it, this? So see how the second line is different from this first line here? Oh, so there is no dash H in the second one. So what that means is the second one doesn't have any headers. You're not giving it any special headers. So it's as if yesterday I was with two lines afterwards. Yeah. So in this case here, we don't specify any headers. Still works though. See, we get back the 200, we have all the stuff there.
Is this a curl thing?
Yeah, it is a curl.
If it's a
thing.
curl thing,
Now,
it's not.
look at this. You see how the content length header still gave us one, still sent it for us. So it actually, it puts it in format. Yeah, curl has some shortcuts built in, which is, I wanted to expose you guys to, and I very much expected there to be some turmoil on. But it's.
They do, because they've always done it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
In most cases.
so we had this before. Now, go back. Oh, sorry. This is what you, this is the first thing that was on the screen. This has the.
They still say usually that, yeah, that's how I.
Just so you have the reference. Cool. Now I'm going to go back to what you had said. Yeah, here, this.
But when you upload, like on a site,
This
you
is
have
how
to
you
know
put the header
cover
for
letter.
name, colon, authorization, value, or super secret like that.
You don't need either.
You don't need, the reason why this worked was because what curl did, is it parsed this, they got kind of a weird output. And what it did was it just didn't use it, just kind of skipped it. Which is a little bit of weird behavior. I think it would kind of warn you about it.
That you're doing extra.
Yeah,
Giving
yeah, but I don't think it did.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is just a guess. I'm not 100% sure, but the fact that we can remove this and it still works, it still puts in that header for us, is what makes me think that.
Right.
So here, for example, we have name, authorization, value, super secret like this.
You still don't need name.
Yeah, so I guess what I'm trying to say is this is an incorrect header. Sorry, it's an incorrect header format, and that's why curl didn't parse it. And in this case, it didn't matter because the header was something that it was okay with, like it already put in the place. But in this case down here, this header is required to curl before you can custom header. So when you specified this header, it didn't add it correctly. And then it was as if you didn't type it in the request. It's like as if you just hit enter, you didn't actually put name, colon, value, enter, name, colon, value, enter, type. You know, like you didn't put that row in. So because of that, it accidentally just typed this.
And not.
Yeah, because the format was incorrect. Now,
But why would they do
that?
that? Right.
Yeah, like
Instead of.
I think Curl's a bit, it's a bit more of an advanced tool. Yeah, and it's.
So it's advanced or tell me, no, but it's.
No, I mean, it's worth, I think it's worth exposing you guys to.
No,
I very much
definitely.
expect you're not gonna use it on a day to day.
But you do.
I do, but I'm also crazy.
No, but I am too. So it sounds like something
I'm a
I
different kind
like.
of crazy. This is like, this,
I don't know how to interpret
no,
that, but.
I can admit all
Okay.
of that. No,
Okay.
it's like,
We have a couple of
very-
areas.
Yeah. So it's really for two reasons. It's that when I'm going, I want to go as quickly as possible, so this is just quicker for me. But the other reason is you often run into cases where you'll have to see like an example, or someone give you a curl as an example of how to make a request. Like a recipe. So like let's say you get like some API documentation. Think of that as like a recipe book. You open up that recipe book and you see a bunch of these recipes. Each of the recipes might give you like a description. They'll give you like instructions on how to make those recipes. Think of those instructions as like the curl. It gives you the instructions on how to make the request. It tells you need to use this method, this URL, these headers, things like that. This box. Yeah, curl is.
Oh, and you're just like, yeah. It's curl tells you what to do.
Exactly.
Or tells.
And what's cool is it's kind of like a recipe that's self-executing. If you run it in the terminal, it'll do it for you.
Once you tell the terminal, what was that called?
Command?
Command.
Yeah.
Curls.
Yep. So it's like a self-documenting recipe. So you can just paste in the terminal and it'll do it for you. Oh, it's something. Well,
All right, you don't want me to write
like a
that down,
recipe.
but okay.
Think of it like a recipe. So it's like a recipe for how to make an HTTP request. You can think of Postman as kind of a way to do that too. Like if you found a screenshot of Postman in API documentation, like you found that in your recipe book, you could look at that, you could put in all the right fields in it, and then hit send, and you get back a response. It's the same kind of thing. But if you mean because curls is text, you usually send it around. Make sense? Okay, cool.
Cake, recipes.
It stands for something you are wrong.
Oh, it does, too, yeah, that too, oh, yeah.
Anyway, so the important thing being here, the header format you're using is correct.
Yep.
So if you change just what we were doing yesterday, same name, colon, value, type of thing.
But no HTTP.
Yeah, all that stuff is encapsulated in the process.
So this is wrong.
Oh,
It's already encapsulated in curl.
Yeah, exactly. So like, remember how yesterday, how we were putting in like the path? That's right there. Actually, I'm gonna add it at the end. There's a part that's assumed that I really should teach you guys. Forget it now. Doing this typing. Dash. That's something you typed in. Yeah, anything in the command line, you have to type in. So, like, there's your method. There's your path. There's the protocol. That's like the port you're on. That's it. So like, if you type nc module 5.tk, that's that bit. Then the port is that bit. And then so you see how like this breaks down into all the different subcomponents? Oh, mine's back on Axel.
But we didn't need to put that in.
Curl assumes. That's the thing. I announced it a little earlier.
No, I
should have
know.
said it before in the presentation.
No, it's
Okay, you're fine. So, just if you think about our
How does it know that, how would it know get versus,
how does it know which one to do by default?
how does it know which method?
just defaults to get.
It,
Defaults to get.
it does.
Yeah.
Curl is get.
Yeah, well, not only. It defaults, if you don't specify a method, it defaults. to get.
Oh. So get is the one that's assumed, otherwise we type that.
Exactly. It's a little sneaky.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things I've been using it for so many years, I forget about it
That's not-
until I tell you guys and you run into it.
So get, it's just, you don't type that, it's gonna assume it's
gonna
not
assume.
something, another method is specified.
Exactly. And that's what the dash uppercase X does.
And what does this dash mean?
That means to do verbose. So that means
Talkative?
exactly.
Really?
So that means,
We'll find something.
I'll show you that in a second, but change your headers here to match how we did yesterday. It's the same name colon space value thing. You know what I mean by that?
Mhm.
Okay. I'll let you walk through that.
Oops. Oh, I need to do that.
And use the arrow keys to get over there.
Do you want stuff with the journal or just scroll? Do you plan on?
It's gonna be mostly GUI stuff from here on. Yeah, this is about the extent of it.
Graphical user interface.
Yeah, I know that's. what people-
Touchy-feely stuff.
I know that's what people prefer. But once you update that header to be like how it was yesterday, and you hit enter, it should work. So I'm gonna let you try to figure that on your own. If you have more issues,
No,
come chat with me. Um, How you doing? Okay. I think that's, let me make sure there wasn't anything else I was gonna talk about today. I think that was it. Yeah, that was all I was gonna talk about. Okay, so how are you guys feeling about this stuff? I realize this is maybe a bit more of a leap than we took yesterday, but I want to get a general feel of like, are you getting it? Is it still like, is all the little weird curl indentations weird? What do you like better? You like curl, you like Postman? Talk to me here.
Postman just seems easier to use because it's got all the prompts and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, if I used it a lot, I'm sure curl would be just.
Yeah. So something I definitely want to bring up is that while I presented both, like basically from this point on in the class, if you need to make an HTTP request, you can use either. Like it doesn't matter to me. Use whatever you like. If you are having problems with curl and it's kind of just like you're done with it, you don't want to touch it ever again. You're not going to be able to not touch it ever again, but you can probably get away with this rest of this module for using Postman and it's fine. And you'll run into curl occasionally and you can muddle through it and it'll be good. And over the years, you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But, and vice versa, if you have a problem with Postman, but you really like curl, that's fine too. So I guess, yeah.
I can see if you're working in your terminal all the time,
Yeah,
why you
definitely.
would want to use that too, so.
Definitely. But I think it's definitely valuable to expose you to both, even if you don't quite understand one of them. But
So,
we're going to need to make HTTP requests for the rest of this module. We're going to talk about two more things that you can use for it tomorrow, fetch and jQuery.ajax. There are other options as well, but it's probably good to have a way you can make HTTP requests outside of the browser, like a way you're kind of comfortable with. So you're going to need that the rest of this module and also the rest of the class. So
Can you give us an example of like
move it down.
what HTTP request would be?
Yeah.
Say you're coding on a project, can you give us
Yeah.
an example?
Perfect. Yeah, definitely. I think I brought this up briefly yesterday, but a great example is if you have like a form on a web page, you got like a bunch of text inputs, and you want to take input from the user, maybe send it somewhere. Maybe like you've got some sort of server you run, or you have like some sort of system that wants to like is processing information. Or like another great example is like Google Forms. You like type in all that information, you hit submit, and it goes somewhere. That's the sort of thing where you need to do this kind of thing. So you have like let's say you have like 3 inputs. You've got like name, you've got I don't know, place of birth, and like birthday or something. Totally arbitrary. You could construct an HTTP request. So you can put that information in the request, and you can, when the person hits submit, you can effectively exactly do what we did today or what we did before, where you connect to a server, you open up a socket, you type all that information in, and then it makes that request with that protocol, that HTTP interface, that like language it uses, and it's able to understand that information and do something with it on the server side. And then in addition, sends you back information to say, did this request go well? Did you get a 200, a 400, or 500? Who screwed up? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so when we like subscribe to things, we put our email and stuff that's amazing.
Yeah. In fact, basically anything these days you do on a website where there's data that's saved, where you reload the page and it's still there, is somehow sent to a server via HTTP. It's used extensively. So that's why I'm trying to drive the whole point home about it in general. Make sense?
So if we were putting a website, would that be implemented with JavaScript?
It would be, yeah. And what so we were talking about today, ways to make HTTP requests outside of the browser. In general, tools to do it. And tomorrow we're going to talk about ways to do it inside the browser. But that being said, knowing the way to do it outside of the browser still comes up a lot. And it's something like most of the time if you're trying something out, you don't want to like have to write a little example program to do it. You can if you want, but it's nice to have like an interactive thing you can do. And not just something like Postman or curl. A way you can do it outside of it.
So we can put in any website.
Yeah. And get what you get if you go to Google.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just a shortcut for the man.
It's almost the simplest possible request.
We just got a Gaus website.
Yes, it's a slightly different way of writing JavaScript. Kind of, I don't know how to explain it without using the words.
Okay.
Break it into components, and there's also this thing called JSX used with it, where you're basically writing JavaScript and HTML at the same time.
It's like the SAS of JavaScript, right?
Oh, that's right, I did say it. I'm good with my analogies, but I was like, SAS is to CSS, like React is to JavaScript.
You're pretty close.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. It's a good assessment.
Slightly different.
Really? That's what it is? Oh my gosh, that's
That's
really exciting. That is so exciting.
It's not quite as fundamental leap as SAS is, like you get a lot of new extra stuff. And a couple things that just make the development experience of something like React easier. But it's, in fact, a funny story at Raymour and Flanigan, they used to use React without JSX. I have a friend who's and it works.
What kind of header should I be looking for?
But it's just, it's a little harder. It's possible, it's just hard. Anyway.
Sorry, I quite appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like you were to write your page with CSS and just not have SAS. And maybe you can't use SAS for like some sort of business reason. So,
Yeah. That sounds like it's foggy.
Yeah.
Brian, we have questions.
Yes.
So when you say so many objects are like requested, like how do you get any of the result? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a, it's the kind of thing where usually what you'll be given that and it'll say, you want to make a request to get information from us, or you want to send information to us. And you just specify the sort of thing and say, please have, yes, this is your file. To go to this URL, you use this.
You're in.
Oh, okay, yeah, so you're trying to do the same thing that you're doing. Okay, so in this case, it's, Google doesn't publicize this stuff. The way, so one web browser makes its request to a server by default. It's we like go to a page first and what it does, then it's a get request. So if you make a request, so you type that in, what it's going to do is it's going to make a request and get requests to, it's going to be like, okay, let me break it down even further. So it's you do think about what you did yesterday. What it's going to do is it's going to type in effectively the terminal and see. It's going to connect to Google, so it's acting as a client. going to connect to school services. It's on that side.
Okay.
Once it does that, it's going to type is connect. Yeah. Slash. So Google.com/, like there's no text. So like default, it's just slash. So type of get
So, well, you
slash.
can, yeah, so if you want to.
Let's just do this. Like that'd be, do you mind if I type?
No.
Okay.
You don't mind like.
Because
So,
where you want to go with
I'm like, well,
Like the HTML and CSS, like work hard. And I was like,
I think
okay,
that's
so
so
then
much.
we got to JavaScript and I was like, what's happening? Yeah, what is this?
NC Google.com. That part makes sense to you guys. So we're connected to Google.com. We're going to use our channel, our
Yeah, exactly.
standard one we use.
So if it's like if you want to.
Now, we're going to start constructing that HTTP request.
The path to,
So
yeah.
that's going to start with, you got to start with our method. So I don't know if you guys, how much you remember from yesterday, but that's kind of where you start when you make a request. It's like
Well, no, it's,
Yep. So,
yeah, it's, again, you see it every day, it's still.
the next.
For granted.
Right, right.
That's slash. So like.
Yeah, when I first started, I don't know why I was
Google.
here.
Now, the reason that they're connected to that server, now we have a
There's no
dialogue.
really stuff.
We don't tell them
Right.
they already know that server.
Oh, you have to.
It's like every single time I want to say a sentence, you could, there's not really a good reason. Yeah,
So
exactly.
the whole Google.com or Amazon.com, that's just their server name. Or
Exactly.
It's an address.
Yeah, yep. Yes, remember how on the first day we made that spreadsheet where it had like the person's name and their IP address? And how I was going to have it where you guys could look up the IP address instead of giving it to somebody? You can think of it just like that. So there's a spreadsheet somewhere where someone has Google.com and there's an IP address. And someone goes like a Twitter.com, Facebook.com. And every single domain on the internet is a spreadsheet. A little more complicated than that, but that's a good mental model.
So there's just.
So when we type Google.com, we're effectively saying, find the IP address that matches Google.com, but I don't want to use a real IP address because I don't want people to remember that. Like imagine every single time you want to go to Google, you type in like 25.10.3.
One some are more secure to the.
Yeah, clearly.
And then for like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's free here, it's pink. No one wants to do it. So,
And you don't really need it.
no, you
Oh,
don't.
it's secure,
Unless
yeah.
you're crazy and you're like you and you use it. you
Right,
know?
all the time.
I
Yeah.
think they encrypt the tracks and that's why they're.
So in this case here, we got, we're
So you would
making a
just
get
kind of know
request.
what you're
and
doing. You would
Right,
just
it's
start
like,
with
yeah,
all your
right.
excited
Google.com / like that's a hacker. You know, there's how it just goes with like different tokens. So that's kind of the default path. It's like, you notice how all the paths start with slash, like /root, /ban, /.
I say,
Because it's more secure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm just gonna do
but-
slash, that's like the path I want to talk to, and then HTTP 1.1. This looks familiar to you guys? Okay, makes sense? Okay. So, and then I'm just gonna send no headers. So just
usually
do the
this
two
is your-
enders, that also makes sense?
your-
So, let me see this. So we get all this fun stuff. This is the Google homepage.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay, this is what you got before, and I just.
Yeah, so it just works.
Oh, yeah, it is, okay.
We weren't sure if that's what we were actually supposed to get.
No, it is.
We were actually supposed to get.
To be honest, I wasn't sure either. I didn't know what the web page looks like these days. But I feel like this was probably a good exercise to go through either way. So you see that we got 200, so everything's good.
Your
It always goes
address.
back. And if you look at this,
Take
it's
your
HTML. Like, you could, it's like.
Authorize, yeah, and then
That's
send it back here, and then you'll
See
get
like
it
a
back.
head, there's probably a body down here somewhere. You see like some CSS in there, like HTML, index. They compress it all and make it as small as possible, so they can send it as quickly as possible to you. But
So if you did
This
the
is my,
request and then
my
backslash
file
with your like
analogy.
search
Like,
question,
it's hard to-
like if
Yeah.
you wanted to just search something, like would that still come back with like results or they can come back with like their HTML out?
so it's not with the HTML.
Oh,
So just maybe this is closing a circle for you here, but usually when you request in the browser, it gets back to HTML. This is how it knows what you're running.
Okay.
So
If you want to render something, what you have to do is you have to ask a server for that information. You have to make an HTTP request to it. And then the response you get, it gets what to render, it renders that. So that's kind of the whole cycle about like how something will render in the web browser. There's kind of, there's the, it uses HTTP, does both legs and gets back. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I don't know, I'm trying to feel like
Of course, that's only.
I kind of remember saying that one.
Yeah.
And Jeremy was like, "What's the teacher?"
Yeah. So you
You
bring
bring him.
it.
Yeah, I know you were.
Bring it all the options.
Right.
It was, once we knew, I wasn't that big of a deal, but that.
Yeah. I'm gonna look for that index.html file that's in there. Index.html is like the default thing to look for, or like, if you did like,
Yeah, and I need the, yeah,
And then
I
it
do.
would- that would be the body of the response.
Like, what is it right? I have no idea.
I don't know, maybe I'm kind of beating this around the bush a bit, but I mean, it's the sort of thing where like, understanding how HTTP works, I think we're starting to get an idea of how the modern web kind of, how different servers relate with each other. You'll find, especially if you get further in this program, it's kind of the.
No, I have no idea.
It's just weird. It's like just kind of an accident, what people just started doing and stuff. So, yeah.
But-
Is that helpful?
Yeah, actually. It was, because now I'm like, okay, well, now I can see where you start using jobs.
My computer's on the front.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, populate.
Yeah, you can just give you jobs before.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's like,
Like,
I think
you have graduated here.
Or it's like
But it doesn't seem like, I mean, well, that's a big deal.
But let's say you had a, do you have that, you remember how that CSS, you have that, you had UX? So we're gonna try to do, we're gonna see this, it's gonna parse out HTML, it's gonna find that link tag, right? It's like, oh, you need my CSS, we're gonna make a request to the server and say, I'm gonna make a request to the server, a get of like /CSS, /my style, CSS. So if you actually like, what it just took a long time to load, partially because you have to get a lot of stuff, to make a lot of requests to that server.
I mean, I'm feel very proud of it.
Images, all those sorts of stuff.
like allergy.
Yeah,
Anyway.
it's like being high with none of the good parts.
Yeah.
What you're saying.
So the technique is often referred to as sort of below the fold, is what it's called. Like,
Somebody just feel like it's fun.
yeah, so like, everything is just like algorithms, like everything.
Right.
is called
Right.
below the fold, like around everything down here is like nothing. The first screen folds work. The stuff above the folds usually want to load fast because people are impatient. Like search for what? Oh, like a Google search.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
We got the page of how do you.
How do you do a search? Okay. So let's do it this way. What do you guys want to search for?
Oh, well,
Let's do, let's go MDN. That's a pretty safe thing. It's not gonna show up.
I mean, there's nothing I've done on this. Like, really like blowing your mind or anything.
So you notice I hit enter, this URL changed to be a very long one. But if you break it down, it still matches what I showed you before. We got protocol, we got our domain here, we got a path /search, we got those query parameters. We haven't run into those really in class yet. We're kind of trying to keep them out.
I hear you.
But we got sources,
And it says-
HP,
so it comes
EI is equal to like,
An acknowledgement.
it's parsable.
Yeah.
I don't know what I mean.
And that's part of this sort of
Things that something
exercise,
back.
sort of, this
And
is
then
called
it
reverse
is something
engineering,
back, but
it's
it's
like
just
kind of
different
trying
depending
things
on
out,
approach.
like experiment.
What was the case like?
So, this,
So you're sending like.
I happen to know, just because
In
I've
case
done
we
this stuff
are-
before, most of these are irrelevant. And really the one you care about. is human one. And get rid of all these except for that one, simplify it a lot, that's a lot easier to understand. It's gonna return the same thing. So, and that, you're not expecting to know that, I'm just making it a little easier for this demonstration.
Then why did they put all that up there now?
Lots of reasons. One of them being tracking, one of them being like storing metadata about like what it clicked on, like it clicked on like performance.
From
and stuff like
product.
that.
Can you make it so your browser doesn't display that? But even though you're still doing it or not really?
Not